From IBM, please welcome Watson IoT Industry Solutions Consultant, Theo Winkelmann.
Good morning, everyone. So I know I'm the last one before the break, so just hang on, we'll get there. I am sitting in the IoT division of IBM. As part of that division, we focus on cognitive applications. So I'm going to take you through those where we apply Watson and AI to the data that we've seen from the partner networks that we interface with. So in a sense, as John said, my background is probably in the Internet of Humans. That's the phrase that we said predated the Internet of Things, because humans went out and did all that activity and work and wrote down the data on paper. And that paper trail would then make it back into the systems. One story in 2015, one American airline operator landed in Hong Kong. And during the inspection, which they normally do on all aircrafts on landing and takeoff, the operator noticed that there's a landing light in the hull of the plane. So they phoned JFK, where the plane took off, and said, "Are you missing one of your landing lights?" And they say, "Surely we are." And they say, "Well, we send it back on the next plane for you." When we looked into that scenario, coming back to, I've been in the space of OT for about now 22 years, because in '92, I already could dial into water wells and seeing what's the capacity and throughput and performance of a water well, right? It was expensive, it was not accurate, and all those things kind of disappear. So then the question is, how can a light in 2014 end on a plane? And the answer is simple. If you start looking at some of the work that's getting done, it's still very old school. That's why we call it the Internet of Humans, because before then, the work order that went out to tighten the lamps on the runways, they actually had the definition of how many knuckles needs to turn white on the wrench. So since 2014, we now have a Bluetooth wrench that actually monitors that process, so you probably won't see that any longer. And so in a sense, we are seeing that we're in the phase. IBM invested in the IoT division in 2014. We infused it with about 40 billion of investment dollars to start the division. And we're working with customers today to kind of get out of the space of manual data, manual activities, and especially that paper trail and the dirty data that makes it back into our systems. Our systems has been around for 30 years. And that's what we use to go and get the work done, be compliant, make assets safe. And so we use this new realm that everyone here talks about. Partnership with Cisco, the previous presenter, at the port of Rotterdam. It's a smart port. The way that boats comes in and out, we schedule that whole activity. We schedule all the cranes that comes into the port, the logistics. All that is being possible because the operating models are changing. And with that operating model, we consume that data, apply the intelligence or the basic work activity that needs to happen that was manually before. So in that sense, we are focusing on enterprise assets. We've been in the space, like I say, for 30 years with the software that we have. We're looking at partnerships to drive this intelligence, to drive the cost, to drive down the risk. I think Ben presented video analytics. On this specific bridge, there was a truck coming in, and the top on the truck was not tied down. And as the truck was going over this bridge, the top flew up to the other lane, onto a car crash, passenger died. So just that one incident, we're now running video analytics and top recognition, and we will stop trucks 20 kilometers before they come onto this bridge. This bridge is in Denmark. So But that's the type of things that we do once the data is visible. And the data previously wasn't visible because of cost, because of what John talked about, the hardware layer was just, it took too long to get there. And finally, the connectivity layer. And as you've seen from all the presenters before, that problem is not there anymore. We can get that data very fast. We can run the intelligence on the edge. We make it simple. So this, all the business processes that happens around enterprise asset management, IBM manage. So we have right now a vibration model that we will release available to the partner network at the end of September. We will have a closure optimization. We will have a crack detection, bearing failure prediction. We have all that capability today. We just need those models to be implemented on the data on your specific bridges. That same detection that we're doing on the roadways, we're doing it at the airports, we're doing it at the city of Corpus Christi. Right now, if, for instance, if there's a bird strike at an airport, you have to close the specific runway and start inspecting waste debris on the airport. Without this level of automation on those airports, it typically takes 45 minutes to go through that inspection. With the Watson technology and the models running it on the edge that we pre-ship now to 3 airports, Hong Kong use it, LA use it, and we have Toronto use it, they can do that within 5 minutes at 30 miles per hour. They run over the runway, understand where the debris is, come clean it up. So that's about a 40 minutes reduction in getting the runways open, which is a lot of revenue to the airport. So in a sense, we are under Watson IoT, a company that utilized the data to drive these efficiencies. Previously, the data was inaccessible. The data was not in time available. We create those models for those enterprise assets to drive them faster. We have, as all the other presenters, we have many industries that we cover. Specifically, we go from nuclear all the way down to healthcare. So here I kind of just give you a quick overview of what type of activity we can drive. I've talked about the Port of Rotterdam. That was actually in partnership with Cisco and with NVIDIA. We look at, for instance, facilities. We have many facilities like this. We're always saying, if you can start optimizing your cost around facilities, like cleaning and HVAC, you can get a lot of money back. If we look at, for instance, Tesco as a retail, and I've seen a lot of retail use cases, we drive their cold chain logistics from warehouse to the store, and we measure that whole process and can actually optimize their energy cost so that when a fridge is not being utilized to its fullest, we can actually automatically lower the cooling on that specific shelf at that time. And when it's full, when it's then pre-packed with the retail cost, we bring back the cooling on that specific shelf. So with that, you can see Tesco is very happy about the cost savings around it. And again, these are repeatable use cases. We have those models. We're looking for, like I say, the partnership that we're here to talk about today with Ingram to get some of these stores enabled better with the data that they're gathering today. Coney is one of those big flagships accounts for us. Basically, all escalators, elevators have predictive components in to tell the maintenance staff when they need to go out and do maintenance on the equipment. And again, this has been happening for many years. Now with the data and the technology, we can tell you when to do maintenance, and that maintenance will happen when it's off-peak, so we don't have to affect on-peak performance of elevators and escalators. Coming back to manufacturing and transportation, that's mostly where I live. We have many, many use cases. I think about a bread manufacturer here in the US. A light bulb came out of the roof. They detected it 2 hours later. They had to recall $100,000 worth of bread, just from a light bulb that kind of fell on the ground, and of course, they don't know what went in at the end of the line. So those type of use cases, understanding the business process, how you optimize throughput for yield, for cost, and for risk, is what we do with Watson IoT. And as soon as we then go to some of the manufacturing operations that's 24/7, like mining, like chemicals and petroleum, those type of industries then heavily rely on automation. And it's in those industries that we typically can show you how to configure out your line. I think John talked about the manufacturing line, how quickly you need to change it in the modern days, how you need to run it 24/7. So when we look at the yield, the cost of the raw material, and then looking at the process and the equipment variability, we typically focus on the OEE aspect, operating equipment efficiency. And we drive a lot of that alignment, that configuration, that capability in manufacturing. And then as we go into the logistics aspect is where the transportation comes in, working with a big pharmaceutical right now on cold chain logistics as well, spending millions on ice, dry ice and gel packs, and getting that packing correct so that when it goes from Michigan all the way to London, the material will be delivered at 42 degrees Fahrenheit. And that's where the sensor capabilities, all those come together. I think as part of the beginning presentations, we talked about the technicians. So we have a kind of a two-view aspect how we target industries. The first view is if work is getting done to optimize an asset, we need to understand the context, the location, and where the work is getting done. So that's one aspect of what our portfolio does. And like I say, we typically work with many of the partners. Glad that Ingram has invited us here because we can definitely work with Ingram and especially those hardware partnerships. The next point is if technicians are going out there to do fixes, they should get it right the first time. And with HoloLens and mixed reality, we know that that type of complex repair activity that we're doing on enterprise assets sometimes don't get done the first time. Some of the statistics worldwide, I just on Monday saw the workforce in the US, 35% is over 55 years old. In Germany, it is 45% is over 55. In Japan, it's 65 is over 55. So if you're looking at your workforce, within the next 10 years, most of the people who carry that intuitive notion of they walk past a machine and listens to it and knows what's wrong with it, those will be out of your workforce. So how do you substitute your workforce? You hire new skill in and you have to train them. That training can happen with AI and data that you bring to your junior technicians. So every technician work as the best technician you have on your plant in your company. And we have those models available today. For instance, with Kony, we share the model for escalators and elevators. With Sandvik for Caterpillar equipment. We have done that. So not only can we predict failures, we can predict when efficiencies are coming into your operations. We can also assist your technicians from actually getting out to your work sites, to your locations, and getting the first time fix done correctly. So those are the two aspects of what we focus in Watson IoT. We focus on asset performance, when assets will not be aligned to your performance profile. And then if that happens, how do you help your technicians to be the best technicians that they can be? Both those models are available by industry. We work through the ecosystem to get those models implemented with customers around the world. This is, for instance, one, like I say, I cannot say who this customer is, but typically, if we understand complex equipment, we understand how the relationships of those equipment needs to happen and how you do maintenance on them. For this specific vehicle, it took 5 hours to get to a specific critical part to do maintenance on it. So, and in the Internet of Humans, most of the things were time-based or schedule-based. So if this specific equipment is running in Iraq, you will probably do it every 2 weeks, just to be sure that this is available for your fleet. So fleet availability. If this equipment is somewhere in Canada, you will probably do it every 4 weeks. So you don't do the same things. It's always the location, the operating environment, depends on how you go maintain equipment. And by using those sets of products from IBM, which is available also in the demo center, and we can talk more about it, we were able to look at the performance, the context, the location, the hierarchy of how the asset works, what's the performance profile of it, and we could then go and say, what's the risk on the specific vehicle? So if you're in a high risk, let's get the maintenance done. Let's do that 5-hour maintenance because this vehicle is going into operation versus this risk profile is not yet to a critical point, therefore don't do the maintenance. Save this specific customer $12 million and increase fleet availability by 40%. So that is the type. When the data is there, when the business process requires to be faster and less cost, but not increasing risk, the Watson IoT portfolio aligns to that. So this is the level of activity that we do within IBM. So coming back to partnerships and ecosystems, we support because one of the main concern of customers, if the data is there, is how fast can we get to it. And the fastness normally comes to open standards. And as you know, we support many of these open standards. We've just invested in acquiring Red Hat to drive more synergies between all these open standards and how they work in the cloud. And I think, as Matt was saying in the beginning, we're there for repeatable industry solutions. So as part of Watson IoT, we go into our software partnerships to make it repeatable. As I said, we have a model for escalators. We have models for hurricane detection that you've seen locally and how the power companies are using that during Hurricane Katrina in Texas. We have all those are repeatable patterns. If you want to engage outside of the areas that we focus on, through the IBM Cloud organizations, we have what we call IBM Cloud Packs. That's the Cloud Pack for data, the Cloud Pack for security, the Cloud Pack for applications, Cloud Packs for machine learning. Those Cloud Packs is what we use internally within IoT to customize specific context to those packs so you don't have to do them. So in a sense, we reuse a lot of our open standards. We also lean a lot into the IBM Cloud Packs that now through the Red Hat acquisitions will be faster if you want to go outside of the models that we have available today. So in that sense, I just want to come back to the ecosystem as everyone else. We do feel that we can't get to the customers alone. It's never been a way that we actually has gone out to market within Watson IoT and within IBM. We want partners. And as I said, the Bluetooth range, that needs to be a Wi-Fi range. So I'm going to talk to Ingram so that we can upgrade that device because Bluetooth is there today, but it's not as efficient as we want it to be. So in a sense, we really want to work with you, with Ingram, to bring some of these products and the reach of enterprise AI into your ecosystem. We want to make sure these models are ready today. We've tested them. We've worked with many customers to get them out there. But we know this is just the starting point. So we've been operating in this space. Like I say, our system of record is 30 years old. We know we have all the data. We know through new business models we can really change how customers look at assets, look at facilities, look at banking systems. So in that sense, we need the ecosystem to help us to drive more of what I've presented here today. And I thank you for your time. I'll hand it back to the next presenter. Thank you.